Do you ever feel like a fraud? Like you don't deserve where you're at? Or maybe, do you attribute your accomplishments or any successes that you had over the course of your life to external factors like luck rather than anything of your own doing? Well then, my friend, you may just be experiencing imposter syndrome. And you're not alone in that, because this affects pretty much all of us at some point or another over the course of our lives. I don't say that to downplay the effect that this can have on us, as imposter syndrome can be rather debilitating when trying to do really anything. Jellyfish Can't Swim tonight captures this perfectly through Mahiru, the MC of the story, who deals with self-doubt about becoming an artist. In this video, I'll be exploring Mahiru's imposter syndrome concerning her art as she learns to swim on her own. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome, also known as perceived fraudulence or imposter phenomenon, is described as the self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among individuals that will typically persist regardless of personal achievements or accomplishments. Essentially, this is the disconnect between your perception of yourself and your perception of others. This is an extremely common phenomenon that affects most of us at some point in our lives, usually when we take on a new role or position. We see this with Mahiru when Kano asks her to do the artwork for Jelly. Mahiru's initially short-lived art career began when her jellyfish painting was chosen to become a mural in Shibuya. After completing the mural, an excited Mahiru rushed to show her friends her art, but got completely shot down once they started to ridicule the colors and call it weird. Once Mahiru recovers from the initial shock of the ridicule, she nervously agrees with her friends and covers her name on the mural with her hand. In my eyes, this was the basis for Mahiru's imposter syndrome, as this fuels the self-doubt that began building up inside of her head. Many years later, she has now completely given up on art. Anytime she is referred to as an artist or anything similar by her friends, she outright denies it. We can definitely say that she has a low self-efficacy regarding art at this moment. That is until one day when she meets an ex-idol named Kano after she praises and defends Mahiru's mural when another idol covers it up with their posters. Through Kano, Mahiru is able to find a reason for doing art. And this is told alongside some great symbolism with jellyfish and their inability to swim on their own. Through Kano being her quote-unquote light that she, Mahiru, can absorb as a jellyfish to shine herself, Mahiru embarks on a journey to come to love and accept her own art. However, it didn't take long for her feelings of imposterism to creep up inside again. In episode 5, the Jelly Gang is still reeling from the virality of their first song, with mostly positive comments as well. This ignites even more hope into Mahiru, as she believes that she might be finally doing it in regards to becoming an artist who loves her art. Things were looking up for Mahiru and Jelly until some viewers began leaving some disparaging comments directed towards the artwork for the song, with one of the viewers saying, "Too bad the drawings are subpar," and another saying, "The artist must have been an amateur." This is worsened when talented artists began posting fan art of the Jelly character on Twitter. Even a world-famous artist posts one that gets a lot of traction. The rest of the Jelly Gang is ecstatic to see this, as this means that their group is gaining more popularity by the day. Mahiru, however, is not pleased to see this. She begins to compare her artwork to theirs, which brings on intense feelings of jealousy and inadequacy. This leads her back on a downward spiral of self-doubt. She loses confidence in her art and loses confidence with her place in Jelly. She once again calls herself ordinary. After building up her self-efficacy concerning her art with Kano and the rest of the gang, these comments break her confidence, lowering her self-efficacy once again. When dealing with imposter syndrome, it's vital that you don't try to overdo things or work yourself to the bone to repress your feelings. Take things slowly and try to improve a little each day to avoid burnout from overworking yourself. For this, I like to think about the 1% rule. All you really need to do is focus on getting 1% better in something each and every day. because over time that's going to add up and your improvement will speak for itself. Don't compare yourself to others. This can seem like common sense, but it's much harder in practice, as it can be easy to feel discouraged after comparing yourself to someone that is quote-unquote ahead of you. I said ahead in quotes because the two of you are on two separate paths at two different points along these paths. And there have been different factors and different obstacles for both of you. So it's not fair to yourself or to them to compare. Stephen Furtick has a great quote for this. The reason we struggle with insecurity is that we compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. This is because comparison can lead us to berate our own abilities, worsening feelings of imposterism like we just saw with Mahiru and the fan art. Challenge your doubts and break out of your comfort zone. This is important because without it, you will never truly know your limits or your capabilities. Mahiru continued to push herself with art classes, self-study, and eventually taking on the project for Kano's mom. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in this final segment. Later on in episode 5, Mahiru is still down from the comments and the fan art, so Kano decides to pay her a visit to cheer her up. She ultimately tells her to have faith in her art and to love her art as she does herself. Mahiru reflects on what Kano told her, as well as her thoughts of inadequacy and jealousy that she had earlier towards the fan art. Here, she is not only challenging her doubts concerning her ability to draw for Jelly, but she also tackles her jealousy that came from comparing her art to Jelly's fan art online. She once again comes to the realization that she wants to like the art that she draws. Despite this, she still has to address the baggage from the past that is a blame for this negative feedback loop regarding art. She does this by revisiting her jellyfish mural and rewriting her artist name underneath where she crossed her name out. We're then shown a montage of Mahiru continuing to practice and study, and she begins taking art classes as she has now found a reason to draw again. That is, to come to love her art. Like I was saying a bit earlier, she continues to challenge herself and her doubts by taking on a project for Kano's mom, who is the manager of Kano's old idol group, the Sunflower Dolls. Here, she's tasked with providing the artwork for a virtual live gig event for the idol group. However, after revealing her rough draft for the event, it gets shot down hard, and she is given a plethora of suggested changes. After questioning Mahiru about her art, Kano's mom comes to the realization that Mahiru truly does not like her own art. After the rough draft meeting, Mahiru almost slips back into her negative way of thinking when she attempts to celebrate that all she has to do now is, quote, fix it the way that they won't, and that it won't be my art anymore, but that's okay. This would be preferred for someone with feelings of imposterism, as this would provide them a clear outline to follow. But as she's making the changes later that night, she gets a call from Kiwi, another Jelly member, updating her that Kano is continuing with the song and wants to push herself as Mahiru is. This lights a fire under Mahiru, as instead of making the changes, which would have been an easy choice for someone with imposterism, as this way the art wouldn't truly be theirs, she instead makes revisions of her own that end up being accepted by Kano's mom, as well as Mahiru herself, calling it, quote, art that she is proud to say she loves. To recap, by focusing on steady improvement, not comparing herself to others, and breaking out of her comfort zone, Mahiru is able to go from feelings of imposterism with being an artist to fully accepting and loving the art that she creates. And I found her coming of age story within Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night to be extremely inspiring. Thank you, Doga Kobo, for delivering another banger. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, as this was my very first video. A video that has been delayed by feelings of my own imposterism, but I won't let that stop me anymore. What about y'all? Is imposter syndrome affecting you in any way? Maybe there's been something you've been wanting to do for a while now, but haven't started. If that's the case, think of one small step you can take towards your goal or your dream, and act on it. If you feel like sharing, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you all in the next one.
それじゃ、グッバイ世界